Good morning, everybody. Wow, I have 25 minutes. I have 5 minutes extra. Petra, you did a fantastic job telling me that I only have 20 minutes, and I'm already loving the gate, the big walk here. So I'm gonna look you all deeper into your eyes. My name is Benjamin. I am based in Holland. It's lunchtime already, but not before you've heard me out for this next 25 minutes. And I'm gonna talk about IoT, as we all are. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I talk with existing customers, new customers, partners, new partners, partners that become customers. There's a whole new dynamic with IoT, both from the technology, but as Marco said, especially from the business. So I work for a company called Dell EMC, which is now part of Dell Technologies. The Internet of Things, and if we would have this conversation 2 years ago, we would have different slides. We were kind of figuring out what it was and how to define it, because that's what we do. We want to define what is happening, because if we want to define it, then we can build it, and then we can work something with it. It's hard to define. The Internet of Things, it's not new. We've been doing it for a long time. Machines have been talking to machines for decades. B, the Internet of Things is not a thing. You can't buy it off the shelf and say, you know, you would be amazed by the customers that would phone us and say, can you please buy one IoT? No, you cannot. You can try, we're working towards it, but we're just not there yet. So it's not new, it's not a thing, and I'll tell you something, the Internet of Things doesn't necessarily need the internet. It can very much be an intranet of things. So don't be fooled by the terminology. It's by far the biggest subject we all talk about. It's by far the biggest hype of the last 2 years. But I'll tell you something, we're actually building stuff right now. We are building the solutions that everybody is talking about. We are getting towards the implementations that actually get you the value. So the Internet of Things is sensors, it is analytics, it needs compute power, it needs a place to store all that data. Big data, but you can't have big data if you don't get the small data. So you need to enable the edge. We have the cloud there that we kind of know. We're working now towards the solutions in the edge. Not new, we've been talking about it for a long time, but it is happening. That's in the beginning of 2018, that's the difference now where we are. So all these sensors and data and compute and storage lead, as Marco said before, I'm tying right into it to the previous conversation, it leads to the business value. The business value is what we need to attain. But still, IoT is still this sexy and rock and roll and wonderful thing. Because yes, it is true. The world is changing. The world is changing in a fantastic way. We have, as it says here, a digital nervous system. We're all connected. We're all connected in this fantastic way. That is very much true. That is very much happening. But it is really two conversations that are going on. One is the group of creative people, the techies, the design thinkers, the millennials that come up, we need to invest in new creative technology, let's just build something and let's see what it does and connect it and it's all wonderful. Yes, very important. You need that. You need those teams in your company. The other side of that story of this fantastic new digital world is the business side of it. Listen, so that's okay, let's build all this stuff. But what is actually the problem we're trying to resolve here? Is there a problem? I don't know. It's been going well for the last 10, 20, 50 years maybe, sometimes even 100 years or even longer. Do we need to change? Well, you kind of do. Then what do we do? Are we ready for the change? How do we implement that? Are we going to be the first? Are we going to take a step back and see, no, let's figure it out, let's wait for the others to figure it out and then do it better? How we're going to scale this? That is what IoT is all about. IoT is the technology behind the digital transformation. buzzword, digital transformation. Oh, and by the way, I have two buzzwords that I kind of have in the back of my mind that I will not use, or I try to avoid to use it, which is platform and the other is ecosystem. But those are important, and I haven't heard them yet, so that's fantastic. We're moving on. We're going beyond the platforms and the ecosystems. But they are important to what we are building. So, IoT, the enabler of digital transformation. And no longer only live on PowerPoints. No way. No longer only live in proof of concepts. No way. We are, at this exact moment, helping customers transform their organization, find new ways of making money with the implementation of IoT solutions. We're there. Now, is it easy? Sometimes it is, but not always. We can see why this is important, and we can see what is behind it. We can see the yields that we have in efficiency. We can optimize our existing infrastructure. We can start optimizing our new builds. We can see the improvement in customer experience. You know, we can tailor-made from different angles towards our customers. The safety that we can, the safety of the lowering of the risk, and the better dealing with safety issues, whether it's, you know, how to handle your food or your worker safety, we can see that. Proper IoT and digital transformation use cases. And the biggest one out there is the new revenue model. Everything will become as a service. And we've done it. We've helped customers be there. And we've helped customers transform into this new era and be the leaders in it. Now, is this an easy job? No, it's not. Because it's fantastic to have these solutions. And it's not really hard anymore to connect a sensor to some kind of platform and get some efficiency out of it. But you need to have the business case. You need to have the dollars to go out and build this. And as Marco said, scale it as well. Scalability is huge in this. How do you get everybody in your company aligned? If you are a company that's been doing business for the last 100 years, how do you get everybody in the same room? Well, you can do that, but how can you get them all to agree on what is the best way forward? It's not easy. Then how do you scale this up? How do you deal with all this data? And how do you grasp your analytics? When? Where? And oh, by the way, do we need security? Well, you kind of do. But we have that, do we? Yeah, because we've been connecting things in our own little factory, or we've been connecting things in our own shop, and we have a firewall, and we have Windows running, or Linux running, and we've done that. It's very true. Take that model, don't reinvent it, but scale it out. Add new security to it. Not always rocket science, but combine this, and you're no longer talking about the technology, you're talking about a new way of doing business. And you have to be ready for it. Now, I'm not here to all scare you. It's not that Benjamin is saying, oh no, it's not easy, but it's doable. All right, we can help you, and that's also why we're here. My colleagues are out there, and my colleagues of the wider Dell Technologies company are out there to help you scale this out, to design this out. And it's very important for the end customers, and this is as an industry, what the industry also has acknowledged, to come up with as much as open technology as possible. So when you think about building an IoT solution, because that's what you do, when you're thinking about how can I change my company to be able to deal with this new way of doing business, think big, think very big. Think about the endless possibilities out there, because it's gonna happen anyway. So think big, but start small. You don't necessarily need to spend millions and millions of dollars to kick off this IoT project. But what you build, you need to build with the future in mind. It's a mindset that you have to do with. And it says accelerate return of investment. That's what we all want, right? That's what at least the business case. But there's only one way you can do this. And in the previous presentation in Siemens, you saw this as well. It's hard to not have any lock-ins in this business. It's hard to not lock yourself in on a platform or an ecosystem while you're building this. But you have to be ready when you're changing, when you're embracing the change, to be able to change in that process as well. So it's more about this mindset on how to handle this new set of possibilities. So maximize your choices with that. So I'm not saying that you're going to certify dozens and dozens of new platforms. No, because you need to keep it as simple as possible. But one tip that I can give you is look out what is out there in the world and make sure that you are ready for the future. And guess what? We don't know what the future will be like. Yes, we know in a way that the things will happen, and we know that there are going to be self-driving cars and autonomous shipping, and we know that we're going to get to Mars, but no one, and even not Elon Musk, can tell you in what exact time frame. He'd wish, and even if he's there, we're all going to be here. Well, the most of us, I guess, unless somebody's very lucky to be on Mars, or unlucky for that matter. So we all know the world is changing, but no one can tell you exactly where we are in terms of what we need in compute and in connectivity in the next 5 years. Even the biggies out there, even the tier ones, and I'm part of such a tier one organization, don't know that exactly. So we join up, and that's cross-industry. We join up with Siemens and Telia and Cisco, for that matter, to see how can we help our customers here? How can we deal with the uncertainty in order to help our customers drive scale? Now let's look at the compute of it all. Hey, I work for Dell, so we do compute a lot for years and years and years. Think about let me go back here because this is such a fantastic slide. Think about the way the compute was organized. In the 70s, everything was mainframe. We had a building as big as this, and it fitted a couple of mainframes, and that was it. Very much a centralized setup. Very much a centralized mainframe setup, big mainframe, very thin layer of client connecting to it. Then in the 80s, x86, IBM, client server was invested. The client server model came to life with Microsoft. Very much a server and a bunch of PCs and a mesh network connected. Distributed, a distributed model of compute versus the mainframe in the 70s. Further down the road, the 90s, the internet, we're all back into this centralized setup. We're all in the cloud, and we're connecting with our mobile phones and our tablets to grasp this chunk of big data all stored in the cloud, and we're back to centralized. And we thought we had it. We, the IT industry, thought that was it. Writing cloud-enabled software applications, and that was it, the cloud. Move on, big data centers, and invest. And we were right. But here we are in IoT, and guess what? We need to compute back on the edge. We need to compute back to the field of operation, because there's simply no other way to deal with all this huge chunks of data. The cloud will absolutely be there, and make no mistake, it will grow and grow and grow, but you need extra compute and a different kind of compute at the edge of the network. And by the way, someone can define edge for me, because I am talking about it a lot. Don't mind if you don't know, because we kind of should stop defining things. The edge starts with the sensor data. So the edge can be your fridge at home, can be your car, can be your factory. That's all edge. The field of operation. Everything is edge. You know, your body could be the edge, you know, in smart healthcare. But the way the compute pendulum is swinging from centralized to distributed, back to centralized, we're now back to the distributed setup here. Here we are. There is the edge. There is the edge, and we'll talk about different systems connecting. The Siemens systems will connect to your PLC. This could be SCADA systems or from robotics. This could be your canvas in your car. Everything is X. How do you deal in terms of your compute and your investment? How do you deal with that? You cannot possibly send it all to the cloud. There needs to be an infrastructure layer consisting of proper hardware, proper software, and proper connectivity. That's why we are working with Siemens and with Telia, for instance, very good examples before me, to see how we can help the customers with that. Now, the cloud, we kind of know the cloud, right? That's what we did. In IT, the cloud, we pretty much got that covered. And what's in the middle then, Benjamin? What's the middle? What's the core? It's this big orange ball of compute power. This is where you would see your hyper-converged infrastructure. This is what you could see your AI being connected. Here's why you could see the solutions that are pretty close to your refrigerator of your car or your factory, but needs this chunk of compute power and storage power to enable your solutions. Because your solutions need to be real-time. Real-time sending car data, which needs to drive autonomously to the cloud, is gonna demand for proper connectivity. And there cannot be any latency in that. So the lag is important. Cannot be the second, it needs to be milliseconds, and it has to be less than 10 milliseconds. 5G is gonna enable that in a bigger scale. But still, able to grasp the lag there is in, or the latency there is in connectivity, to be able to deal with the amount of edge analytics for your AI, for your processing of your values. That's where you need edge and core power. So you could say that I'm coming from a hardware company, but this is very much a software play. This is very much a connectivity play. Connectivity is essential. And I've heard this before as well. There's a couple of things you need to line up for. No matter how you build this, and I said it before, it's not that hard to connect a sensor to a bunch of hardware and build it up in the cloud and have this visualized. You need to be able to scale this out. Because IoT solutions are no longer a nice to have that you have as a side thing apart from your regular factory. No, these will be the business enablers. Your whole business, if you're going through this digital transformation, will depend on this. And by the end of the day, you'll have a mix of edge, core, and cloud all going together here. So, you see all the lines, it's all foggy, it's all needed. It can be as simple as taking an edge gateway, connected all the way to the cloud and back again. Digital transformation is about this. This is the first step. You enable your IoT solutions. And nowadays, in the beginning of 2018, you can do it. There's some fantastic new software that has been invented. There's some fantastic new hardware. The technologies, the leaps that we have made in the industry, they're all there, which makes it simple. But now start with, to think about the implementation of this technology. That's why you need to grasp it all. This mix of compute and software and connectivity, we can make that for you. But you also need to be able to address this in your business. And this can properly transform your way of doing business. This can properly transform your way, how you deal with your customers, or how you make your money. Now, the way to success to digital transformation is to keep this as open as possible. I've said it in the beginning. We need, and we, the industry, it's not only Dell Technologies, that's also the Cisco's, and that's also the IBM's and the HP of the world. We need to combine this all together. And we need to come up with open standards. That's why we invest in open source software. That's why we come together and create consortiums to keep this as open and as agile as possible. Because the way to your successful implementation is as little lock-ins as possible. An architecture that you're gonna build off on in the software, it needs to enable it. An architecture cannot lock you in. Open standards are there in IoT, but they're simply not as big as we have in the OT world. Operational technology. We're bridging that gap, right? You've seen those slides before as well in the conference. We're bridging the gap between old school IT and these operational technologies. So what we're trying to do is get as much standardization in the operational technology as we have in the IT world. Simply think about your laptop and hooking up a USB device. You no longer think about it. Remember the days like 20 years ago when you bought this big chunky PCs and you have to fit in a, I don't know, sound blaster sound card and the drivers wouldn't work and you have to come up and open up the file and make it happen. We don't even think about it anymore. We find it very normal that if I hook on a USB device, it simply works. That's IT. You would all expect that. If it doesn't work, we'll have an issue. That's what we need to get in OT. As simple as that. Drive standardization. That's why we come up with new hardware, new software that is easy to get a hold of, which is not a complex product, that is easy to maintain, that is easy to deploy, and it's easy to scale out in the wide world. So I'm actually going to end before my clock runs out, and I deserve credit for that, and you'll all be very happy with that because I'm going to give you time to go out for lunch. A couple of things that I need you to grasp. IoT implementation, we are here now to make this happen. We can help you with that. It can start from the software, it can start from the hardware, it can start from the connectivity angle, but we, the industry, is ready now. You should not be afraid to start that discussion in your company because the solutions are there. Not all off the shelf, but we're getting there. So we're driving standardization. IoT is the enabler for your digital transformation. We can help you, the industry can help you, at least we can help you with driving the managed services around that, the implementation, the supportability. That's not as sexy as an sensor hooking on to an infrastructure, but it's vital to get your business properly set up. Support, manageability, security, all very easy to set up in the PowerPoint slide, but essential to think about when you're designing this. Design thinking sessions should be common in your organization. It is not. It is new in the industry. But design thinking, literally all go into one room and talk about the technology, talk about the way of implementation. It is essential that you map this out. You know, start drawing on the board. Scale it out, be able to manage it, and do it in a secure way. My colleagues are right there at the behind the pillar. I hope you all have a great lunch. I thank you for the attention, and I hope to speak to you soon. Thank you very much.